When I was 6, I remember being bald and surrounded by a bunch of kids who had hair. And I was just thought to myself, why don't I have it? You know, I was innocent and I didn't really understand. Cancer was more like a cold. It kind of went away in my life for a while. I had a normal elementary childhood for about 5 years, and then it reoccurred again when I was 10, and it was almost like going through it all over again because I didn't remember much of it when I was 6 years old. 2 years later, I had another reoccurrence, and that was the most shocking thing for me because we all had so much confidence that cancer wasn't like really a big deal of my life. You know, it was just an annoyance, and that we were going to get rid of it eventually. You know, it wasn't going to have to be a recurring problem. And this time we decided to take other measures and other options. We decided to go to Ann Arbor, to like a different land, and to pursue treatment for a stem cell transplant. After all the chemotherapy and everything in Ann Arbor, I was able to go home, but I still had to be in isolation, so I couldn't leave or go anywhere. And I still had to go to the doctor every single day and get a regular blood transfusion because my immune system was still recuperating. One morning, I remember my dad yelling at me to get up because we were going to be late for the doctor. And I got out of my bed and I felt so dizzy, like my head was flying all over the place and I didn't know what was going on. He yelled at me one more time and I stood up and I walked from our living room to our kitchen, and right as I hit the tile floor from carpet, I passed out and I landed right on the floor, smashed my head. And I remember my dad yelling at me, trying to, get a response from me to wake up. And luckily my dad was a firefighter and police officer, so he was able to put an IV in me and keep me from dying in my own house. I remember waking up and being covered in just blood clots all over me, everywhere. Like my clothes were completely destroyed. And people, like medics came into my house with a stretcher and pulled me out to the ambulance, and I had an ambulance ride all the way back to Bronson in Kalamazoo. From there, they decided that there was nothing they could do for me in Bronson, and I had to be transferred back to Ann Arbor, and that just made me so angry because I did not want to go back to Ann Arbor and be away from all my family and friends, where I would have to almost feel like I was doing it on my own. I had multiple surgeries in Ann Arbor, but the biggest one was when the doctors decided that they were going to bypass my bladder. I remember my mom holding my hand, and I remember being knocked out, and then I remember seeing white all around me. Like, I couldn't see my body or anything like that. It was just like white. And I heard a voice, and the voice said to me, "Dustin, you will not die here. You will get out of Ann Arbor alive." And I remember waking up from my surgery to my mom on my right and my dad on my left, and they were both crying, and I could not help but smile. I was so happy. For some reason, we were in the darkest, most depressing moment of my life. I was happy. I looked at my parents and I said, "God says I'm going to be out of here alive. I'm going to be all right." Unfortunately, the third time was not my last. I had to go through cancer 2 more times, both of which I was in high school. And even though I was angry and I was mad, I was still able to get a lot of enlightenment and a revelation from God. I was blessed with all the support from my high school peers. A buddy of mine started a group called DC Strong. And I remember walking into school and I saw all my friends with shirts on them that said DC Strong as a way to support me. So after me getting better over my 4th time, me and a couple of my buddies decided to make DC Strong more personal and more big and real. Instead of just helping me, we wanted to help other people. We decided that we were going to help mainly childhood cancer patients. And little did we all know that by helping these kids, it was more helping us. The biggest whole point of DC Strong is that I wanted to portray to others is you don't have to be special or chosen to have to go through and defeat whatever obstacle you're going through in your life. The biggest thing that people always say to me is, "I don't know how you did it." And I think that deep down, all of us have the ability to overcome anything in their life. Don't get mad at God. Get mad at the devil, because God didn't put cancer on this earth. God didn't put divorce on this earth. The devil did. And I believe that whatever you're going through in your entire life, God can change it. He can make it for the greater good of you and other people.